I suppose I should start by saying I always trusted my nephew Ryan. You probably think that makes me a fool right from the beginning, and maybe you're right. I'm William, retired accountant. Been on my own since Deborah passed 5 years ago. Comfortable enough. Kept my mind sharp with numbers and routines, but family, well, family felt important to keep close. Ryan, M30, is my sister Karen's son. Always had that easy charm, quick with a smile, worked in tech sales, looked successful. Anyway, Karen certainly thought he hung the moon. Maybe I bought into it too. My other niece, Amanda, F28, always seemed a bit more grounded, maybe saw things clearer, but she was quieter. Her brother Chris, M32, was just indifferent, mostly lived his own life. But Ryan, he was the one who'd stop by, ask how I was doing, talk about his deals. I helped him out with a bit for college years ago. Never really thought twice about it. Family helps family, right? The whole mess started, predictably enough, with technology, or my perceived inability to deal with it. Standing in line at the bank one Tuesday took nearly 40 minutes just to deposit a couple of checks. I came back home grumbling about it, probably louder than intended. Ryan happened to call that afternoon, checking in. "Just tired of those bank lines, Ryan," I said. "Takes half the morning sometimes." "Uncle G," he said, his voice full of that can-do energy he always projected. "You need to get with the 21st century. Online banking, mobile deposits, it's easy stuff. I can set it all up for you this weekend." And he did. Came over Saturday, sat down at my old desktop, clicking away. I tried to follow, but it felt like he was speaking another language. He was patient, I'll give him that, but also a bit smug, like he was doing this massive favor for the old dinosaur uncle. "See? Simple," he kept saying. He helped me install the bank app on my phone too. An older model smartphone Deborah had insisted I get years ago. "I'll just set up the passwords and security questions for you," he said breezily. "Something easy for you to remember, but I'll jot them down too, you know, just in case you forget. We don't want you getting locked out." He wrote them on a sticky note he tucked into my desk drawer. "There you go, Uncle G. All set. You can pay bills, check balances, everything right here." I felt a little flicker then, something not quite right about him having all that access, but I pushed it down. It felt ungrateful to question it. He was family. He was helping. What could possibly go wrong? Famous last words, I know. He made some joke on his way out, something about needing a quick loan himself after seeing my healthy balance. I laughed it off. It was maybe 3 weeks later I noticed the first odd thing. A charge for $19.99 from some company I didn't recognize, listed as an app subscription. I racked my brain. Had I clicked something wrong on the phone? I mostly just used it for calls and texts. I'm meticulous with my finances. Spent 40 years as an accountant, old habits die hard. But I thought, okay, maybe I messed up. Annoying, but plausible. I made a note of it, mentally subtracted it from my balance. Then, a week later, $47.50 for utility adjustment. City Hydro. That seemed wrong. My hydro bill was automatic withdrawal, a set amount. I almost called the utility company, then hesitated. What if I had done something? Changed a setting by mistake? I didn't want to look foolish. I decided to mention it casually to Ryan next time he called. "Oh, that City Hydro thing?" he said, voice smooth as butter. "Yeah, they had some rate correction, I think. It probably just processed weirdly through the app. Don't worry about it, Uncle." He sounded so confident, so dismissive. I felt a prickle of doubt again, stronger this time, but I let it go. He managed multi-million-dollar tech accounts. He knew how this stuff worked, right? The turning point came about 2 months in. A charge for $112.80 from Trend Threads online. I have never bought clothes online in my life. I buy my slacks at the same department store I've gone to for 30 years. This wasn't a mistake I could have made. This was theft, plain and simple. The realization hit me cold and hard in the chest. My nephew, my sister's son, the one I'd trusted, the one I'd helped, stealing from me. It wasn't even the amount. Not really. It was the violation. The fact that he'd used my trust, my perceived vulnerability, against me. My first instinct was white-hot anger. Call him, call Karen, confront him. But then the accountant in me kicked in. Confrontation without proof. He'd just lie. He'd twist it. He'd make me look confused, paranoid. He'd already laid the groundwork for that. Number I needed evidence. Undeniable, cold, hard data. So I did something I hadn't told anyone. I didn't call Ryan. I didn't call Karen. I put on my coat and went down to my bank branch, the one with the long lines. I sat down with a personal banker, a young woman named Ms. Wright, who was surprisingly helpful. I explained I was trying to understand my online activity better. I didn't mention theft. I just asked how I could track logins, how I could get instant alerts for every single transaction, not just large ones. She showed me how to set up detailed email and text alerts, transaction amount, time, vendor, yes, but also login timestamps, and crucially, the IP address associated with the login. That IP address usually tells you the network location where the login happened, Mr. Henderson, she explained. Perfect. I went home and spent the evening setting it all up. Then I opened a fresh Excel spreadsheet on my computer. Columns: date, time, amount, vendor, declared reason, if known, actual reason, suspected, login time, IP address, IP location, lookup. I backfilled it with the few suspicious charges I already knew: the $19.99 app, the $47.50 utility adjustment, the $112.80 from Trend Threads. It looked sparse, but I had a feeling it wouldn't stay that way. A cold anger had taken root now, replacing the initial hurt. This wasn't just about getting the money back. This was about the deliberate deception. And I was right. The spreadsheet started filling up. Small amounts at first, Ryan testing the waters again maybe. $25 for rideshare credits, $38 for online food delivery, $15 for streaming service. Each time, my phone would ping with an alert. I'd calmly open my laptop, enter the details into the spreadsheet, look up the IP address. Sometimes it was from the coffee shop near his apartment, sometimes from the vicinity of his office building. Once, disgustingly, it was logged in from my own house. While he was supposedly helping me fix my printer downstairs, he'd clearly popped up to my office, used my desktop while I wasn't looking. He got bolder as the weeks went on, likely thinking I was completely oblivious. The amounts crept up. $75 for concert tickets, a band I'd never heard of. $150 listed as pharmacy copay. My prescriptions are covered differently. $200 for online retailer, electronics, a new gaming headset maybe? And the gaslighting. Oh, the gaslighting intensified. It was insidious. He started calling more often, full of false concern. "Uncle G, just checking in. You seem a bit scattered lately. Everything okay?" "You know, Uncle, maybe we should look at setting up automatic bill pay for everything. Just simplify things for you." Worse, he started poisoning the well with the family, especially Karen. I started getting calls from her. "William, honey, Ryan mentioned you seemed a bit confused about your bills. Are you sure you're managing all right on your own?" Or, "Ryan's worried you might be spending a bit more than you realize. Maybe let him help you set up a budget?" It was infuriating. I could hear Ryan's words coming out of her mouth. She believed him completely. When I tried to gently push back, "No, Karen, everything's fine, just a small mix-up," she'd get that patronizing tone. "Well, Ryan knows best about this tech stuff, dear. It's good he's looking out for you." Looking out for himself, more like. Amanda sometimes looked at me with a questioning expression during family dinners, like she wasn't quite buying the confused old uncle narrative, but she never said anything directly. Chris was, as usual, barely present, so I played along. I leaned into it. "Oh, thank you, Ryan, you're such a help. Yes, Karen, maybe I am getting a bit forgetful. I don't know what I'd do without Ryan managing these things." I watched his smug satisfaction grow, let him think he had me wrapped around his little finger, let him get comfortable. Every fake compliment I gave him, every feigned moment of confusion, added another line item to my internal ledger of resentment, right alongside the growing list of stolen funds in my Excel file. But the spreadsheet, while damning, felt incomplete. It showed the what, the when, the where, but I wanted more. I needed proof that was less circumstantial, something more visceral. So I decided to set a couple of small traps. First, the Chrissied money. I went to the bank, in person of course, and withdrew $500 in 20s. Back home, I sat at my desk with a magnifying glass and meticulously recorded the serial number of each bill in a separate notebook. The next time Ryan visited, supposedly to help me sort out some paperwork, I made sure to leave 3 of those crisp 20s lying seemingly carelessly on my desk blotter while I went to make us coffee. When I came back, they were gone. He never mentioned finding any lost cash. I started keeping an eye on local buy and sell websites, wondering if he'd use cash for a small purchase. Second, the recordings. I started using the voice memo function on my ancient smartphone whenever Ryan called or visited, setting it to record before putting it casually screen down on the table. I began asking him those leading financial questions. "Ryan, if someone, came into a bit of unexpected money, just a small amount, where would you suggest investing it these days?" His replies were revealing. Sometimes dismissive. "Don't worry about that stuff, Uncle G." Sometimes greedy. "Well, actually, I know this great opportunity. Maybe you could get in on it." Other times I'd feign confusion about a specific but fabricated bill. "Ryan, this charge for cloud storage upgrade, did you authorize that? His justifications, his smooth lies, the condescending tone, it was all captured. Cold, hard audio proof. I felt like a spy in my own life, meticulously gathering intelligence, building a case, all while playing the part of the doddery old fool. The anger burned steadily now, a low flame beneath the surface. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the utter lack of respect, the manipulation, the exploitation of trust, the way he'd turned my own family against me with his lies. Then came the moment that tipped me over the edge. It wasn't one thing, but two, happening almost simultaneously, crystallizing my resolve into something sharp and dangerous. Ryan had stopped by, ostensibly to check my internet connection, which had been acting up, likely because he'd been downloading huge files using my bandwidth. He was downstairs fiddling with the router. I was upstairs in my office, reviewing the latest entries in my spreadsheet, another $60 siphoned 2 days prior. Then I heard his voice drifting up the stairs. He must have been on his phone, thought I couldn't hear. "Yeah, man, it's almost too easy," he was saying, laughing that arrogant laugh I'd come to despise. "The old man? He hasn't got a clue. Buys whatever I tell him. Thinks I'm doing him a favor managing his money, more like managing it into my pocket. Honestly, it's like taking candy from a baby. A really slow, confused baby. Slow, confused baby." The words hit me like a physical blow. My hand clenched on my mouse. Decades of careful work, of managing complex accounts, of building a life, reduced to that. Disgust washed over me, so thick I felt nauseous, and right then, as if orchestrated by some cruel cosmic director, my phone pinged. Not a text message alert this time, but the specific, urgent tone I'd set up with Ms. Wright for large transaction attempts. I glanced down. Alert. Transfer initiated. Amount, $1,500. Account, Williams Savings Account. Destination, unrecognized external act. Status, pending, requires verification. Followed immediately by another alert. Alert, login detected. Time, current time. IP address matching Ryan's phone network. Location, geotag pinning it inside my house. He was downstairs right now trying to pull out $1,500 while calling me an idiot behind my back. Planning something bigger, clearly. A trip? A down payment on something? Trying to drain the account before I noticed? It didn't matter. That was it. The final straw. I sat there staring at the spreadsheet, the crisid bill serial numbers in my notebook, the voice recorder app icon on my phone, the glaring alerts from the bank, the sheer audacity of it all, the calculated cruelty, the complicity of my sister blinded by maternal pride. Simple exposure wouldn't cut it. Handing this spreadsheet over to the police felt insufficient. Ryan hadn't just stolen money, he'd stolen my trust, my peace of mind, tried to steal my dignity and my family's perception of me. He needed more than just legal consequences. He needed to understand on a visceral level the cost of underestimating the slow, confused baby. He needed to be dismantled, systematically, piece by piece. His career, his relationships, his reputation, his precious self-image, and the family, they needed to see the truth too. Not filtered through excuses or crocodile tears. They needed it laid bare, unavoidable, right there in the middle of one of Karen's precious family dinners. A plan began to form, cold and clear in my mind. An accountant's revenge, meticulous, documented, with interest compounded. Phase 1, the data gathering, was complete. Phase 2, the calculated demolition, was about to begin. And Ryan, snug in his arrogance downstairs, had absolutely no idea what was coming for him. None of them did. The weeks following my decision felt strangely calm on the surface. Inside, though, it was like meticulously setting up a complex series of dominoes. I continued playing the part of the slightly befuddled Uncle William. If anything, I perhaps seemed a bit more withdrawn, which Karen interpreted as sadness or further decline, reporting back to Ryan with worried whispers. Ryan, on the other hand, seemed to recover quickly from his failed $1,500 transfer attempt. The bank, citing my alert settings and lack of voice verification, had naturally blocked it. He probably chalked it up to a glitch or insufficient funds. The arrogance of the thief often blinds them to the possibility of being watched. He actually seemed a little more smug than usual, maybe thinking he'd almost gotten away with something bigger. He didn't pull back on the smaller siphon, a $40 charge here, a $65 charge there. Each one pinged onto my phone, another meticulous entry into the spreadsheet, another small weight added to the scale of retribution. My planning was quiet, done mostly late at night when the house was still. I opened a new, secure email address under a nondescript name. I researched Ryan's company, his role, upcoming projects, information easily gleaned from his LinkedIn profile or Karen's proud pronouncement. I learned he was gunning for a team lead position, and a major client presentation next month was considered his make-or-break opportunity. Perfect. The first domino. The day before Ryan's big presentation arrived, I knew he'd be stressed, trying to finalize his slides, rehearsing his pitch. That morning, I waited until about 10 a.m., late enough that he'd be deep in work, early enough to cause maximum disruption. I picked up my phone and called him, pitching my voice just slightly weaker than usual. "Ryan, William here. Sorry to bother you at work, dear boy. Uncle G kind of slammed today. What's up?" His voice was impatient. "Oh dear," I sighed, letting a little tremor into my voice. I think I might have fallen. Down the basement stairs. My leg, it's twisted funny, and I hit my head. Everything's a bit swimmy." I paused, adding a realistic-sounding groan. "I hate to ask, Ryan, but could you come over? I don't think I should be alone right now. Karen's out at her book club all day." There was a beat of frustrated silence on his end. "A fall? Are you sure? Did you call 911? "Oh, no," I said quickly. "Don't want to make a fuss, probably just bruised, but I feel awfully shaky. Maybe just help me get comfortable on the couch." It was the perfect manipulation, playing on his desire to look like the dutiful nephew without involving official channels that might document my perfectly fine health. "Fine," he eventually bit out, the annoyance barely concealed. "I'll be there as soon as I can break away. Try not to move, okay?" He arrived about 45 minutes later, looking harried. I was strategically positioned on the living room floor near the stairs, clutching my ankle, looking suitably pathetic. I milked it for all it was worth, complained of dizziness, needed help getting to the sofa, needed water, needed help adjusting the pillows, needed him to check the fuse box because the hall light seemed flickery. It wasn't. Each request was small, plausible, but collectively ate up precious hours of his preparation time. He was practically vibrating with impatience, constantly glancing at his watch, but trapped by the performance of familial concern. By the time I finally felt well enough for him to leave late that afternoon, he looked ragged. He'd barely had time to rehearse, let alone eat properly. Stress was written all over his face. The next day, I waited. Around lunchtime, I got a text from Karen. Ryan called, said his presentation didn't go well at all. Apparently he was completely exhausted from dealing with your fall yesterday. Poor boy. Hope you're feeling better, William. I smiled faintly. He'd blamed me just as I expected. More importantly, I knew Ryan. When unprepared and stressed, his arrogance became brittle, his promises bombastic and unsupported. I could picture him crashing and burning, over-promising to the client, fumbling answers, unable to deliver the smooth performance required. His failure would be attributed to his own poor time management and inability to handle pressure, exacerbated conveniently by his difficult uncle. The first domino had fallen perfectly. Next target, his relationship. I knew from Karen's chatter that Ryan had been dating a young woman named Lauren for about 6 months. She seemed nice enough from the one time I met her, but perhaps a bit naive about Ryan's actual financial situation. Ryan flashed money, my money, around her. Fancy dinners, expensive gifts. Time to introduce some doubt. Using a pay-as-you-go burner phone I'd purchased for cash months earlier, never underestimate the foresight of an accountant. I waited a few days after Ryan's presentation disaster. I picked a time I knew Lauren would likely be at work, perhaps during her lunch break. I didn't want Ryan intercepting the call. I used a simple voice-altering app, nothing drastic, just enough to lower the pitch and obscure my identity. I dialed her number. "Hello?" Her voice was bright, professional. "Yes, good afternoon," I said, adopting a slightly bored, official tone. "I'm calling from Meridian Credit Services regarding an overdue payment on Ryan Henderson's account. Reference number 884-B-71. The account relates to the purchase of a La Perla diamond watch back in April. Is he available to clear the outstanding balance of $872.45? There was a stunned silence on the other end. A watch? Overdue? I don't understand. Ryan bought me that watch for my birthday in April. He said he paid cash. Our records indicate financing was arranged, ma'am," I said dryly. "The payment is now 60 days past due. Perhaps you could pass the message along." "Financing? But he told me," he said his bonus came through. Her voice trailed off, confusion warring with dawning suspicion. "We just need the payment resolved, ma'am. Thank you for your time." I hung up before she could ask more questions. I didn't need to hear the ensuing argument between them. I could imagine it clearly. Lauren, armed with a specific, verifiable detail that contradicted Ryan's financial narrative. Ryan, likely caught off guard, sputtering lies, getting defensive. Given his recent career setback adding to his stress, I doubted he handled it well. A few weeks later, Karen casually mentioned Ryan and Lauren had broken up. Such a shame. she sighed. Lauren apparently got weird about money all of a sudden. Poor Ryan just can't catch a break. I murmured something sympathetic. Domino number 2. Now, for the finale. Karen's birthday dinner was approaching, an annual family gathering she always insisted on hosting. It was the perfect stage. The weeks leading up to it were quiet. Ryan seemed subdued, resentful. He was likely blaming the world, his boss, Lauren, maybe even me indirectly, for his misfortunes. He still hadn't curtailed the smaller thefts entirely, though. Like a compulsive gambler, he couldn't seem to stop himself. More data for the spreadsheet. The night of the dinner arrived. The usual crowd was there. Karen beaming at the head of the table, Ryan trying to project nonchalance, Amanda watching everyone with her usual quiet intensity, Chris looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. I played my part, perhaps laying it on a bit thick, seeming slightly more frail, asking people to repeat themselves, let them all see the confused old man. One last time. Dinner progressed. Roast beef, mashed potatoes, Karen's slightly overcooked green beans. Finally, during a lull in the conversation as dessert plates were being cleared, I looked across the table at Ryan. "Ryan, dear boy," I began, my voice sounding perfectly normal, maybe a touch tired. "Could you remind me what that $87.50 charge from last Tuesday was? For digital services renewal?" My old memory? Ryan rolled his eyes dramatically. A familiar performance for the family's benefit. "Uncle G, we talked about this. It's probably just one of those automatic things. Don't worry about it." Karen jumped in immediately. "Dad, honestly, let Ryan handle it. You know you get mixed up with this online stuff. He's got it all under control." Several others murmured agreement. I looked slowly around the table, meeting each of their eyes. My frail demeanor evaporated like mist in the sun. "Mixed up?" I repeated, my voice low and clear now, cutting through the comfortable family chatter. "Forgetful? Number, I don't think I forget these things anymore. In fact, I remember everything." I reached down beside my chair, my movements deliberate. I pulled out my worn leather briefcase, the one I'd carried for 40 years. Not the actions of a frail man. I placed it on the table, clicked open the latches. Inside, nestled among my reading glasses and a newspaper, was a thick, bound document. I lifted it out. The spreadsheet, professionally printed and spiral-bound, nearly an inch thick. I placed it, silently, in the exact center of the table with a soft but definitive thud. The title page was stark. Ryan Henderson, Unauthorized Withdrawals and Correlated Activities. January 2023. Present. Account holder. William Henderson. Silence descended. Utter, shocked silence. Everyone stared at the document. Ryan's face went white. Karen opened her mouth, then closed it again. Before anyone could fully process it, I spoke again, my voice cold as ice. "Perhaps," I said, pulling my old smartphone from my pocket. "This will help clarify things." I tapped the screen. From the phone's speaker, clear as day in the stunned quiet, came Ryan's voice from the recording I'd saved. "Yeah, man, it's almost too easy. The old man, he hasn't got a clue. Like taking candy from a baby, a really slow, confused baby." A collective gasp went around the table. Karen looked like she'd been slapped. Ryan looked like he was going to be sick. I wasn't finished. My gaze flickered towards the empty chair where Lauren would have sat. "And the beautiful necklace Ryan gave Lauren for her birthday?" I continued, my voice relentless. "Purchased March 12th, according to her. Funny, that's the same day $750 inexplicably vanished from my savings account, logged in from an IP address geolocated to the shopping mall near her favorite boutique. I let that hang in the air, connecting the dots between his supposed generosity and my stolen funds. Finally, I looked directly at Ryan, whose eyes were wide with panic now. "I expect," I stated, each word precise, "full repayment of every cent documented in this spreadsheet," I tapped the cover, "which totals $14,872.38 as of yesterday, plus 10% annualized interest compounded monthly from the date of each withdrawal, and an additional $10,000 for the emotional distress caused by this calculated betrayal." I paused, letting the figures sink in. "Furthermore," I added, my voice hardening, "I expect a full, immediate verbal confession right here, right now, Ryan. But regardless of what you say or don't say, be assured I will be filing a formal police report with a complete copy of this document and all supporting evidence tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp." The dam broke. Chaos erupted. Ryan sputtered denials, then shifted to pathetic excuses, then outright rage, slamming his fist on the table. Karen burst into tears, babbling incoherently, torn between defending her precious boy and the undeniable proof in front of her. Chris actually looked furious at Ryan. Amanda simply watched Ryan with cold contempt, then looked at me with something like grim understanding. Arguments flared between siblings. Accusations flew. Karen's birthday dinner dissolved into a battlefield of recriminations and raw, ugly truth. I sat back, watching the implosion I had meticulously engineered. The immediate aftermath was messy. Ryan tried threats, then pleading, then vanished for a few days. True to my word, I filed the police report the next morning, submitting the spreadsheet, audio clips, bank records, IP logs, Christ money details, everything. Legal letters started flying. The police investigation, while slow, was thorough, aided by my meticulous documentation. Long term, Ryan's life effectively imploded. Facing charges of theft and potentially elder financial abuse, his company fired him immediately. His reputation was mud. He was forced into a court-ordered repayment plan. A significant portion of his wages, from the low-level jobs he could eventually find, garnished for years to come. He became a pariah within the remnants of the family and the community. The family itself fractured, just as I knew it would. Karen offered a tearful, rambling apology that felt more like self-pity than genuine remorse for my ordeal. I haven't spoken to her since, beyond curt necessities. Some cousins sided with her, whispering about how I'd been too harsh on poor Ryan. But Amanda and Chris, they both reached out separately. Amanda came over with coffee a week later, simply said, "Uncle William, I'm so sorry. I suspected something wasn't right, but I didn't push. I should have." Chris called, gruffly apologized for being checked out, and offered any help I needed dealing with the legal side. It wasn't effusive, but it felt real. We started talking more, rebuilding something tentative, honest. We didn't ignore what happened, but we focused on moving forward, respecting the boundaries that had been so brutally violated. And me? Justice was served, yes. There's a harsh satisfaction in that, in seeing the meticulous plan execute perfectly, in Ryan facing real consequences. But it's mixed with a deep sadness. The family I thought I had, flawed as it was, is gone, replaced by something fractured and cautious. But maybe it's more real this way. I don't feel foolish anymore. I feel clear-eyed. I learned a hard lesson about trust, about the danger of denial, about seeing what you want to see in people. I sit here now at my desk, managing my own online banking on a sleek new laptop Amanda helped me pick out. It's secure, multi-factor authentication enabled, passwords complex, and known only to me. Earlier today, I logged in and made a transfer, a modest donation to the local elder abuse prevention charity, the same one mentioned in the victim impact statement I eventually filed. I closed the laptop, looked out the window at the quiet street. The peace is real, but the echoes of the betrayal haven't entirely faded. They probably never will. My phone buzzes. A text from Chris. "Coffee tomorrow, 10 a.m. I smile. A small, genuine smile this time. "Sounds good," I type back. My treat. That's all for this story. I'll be back with another one. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It motivates me to create more content like this.